a classic film that followed a time traveler and his ventures into the future. For this video, I thought we'd go back in time to 1987 and look at a movie that's universally considered to be awful. Can a movie based on gross trading cards be as big a disaster as it sounds? And can I do a video that doesn't get flagged for copyright? Guess we're going to find out. I'm Bob, you're you, and welcome to Classically Bad Cinema. The Garbage Pail Kids movie is a 1987 live-action film adaptation of the then-popular Garbage Pail Kids trading cards that was produced by Topps from 1985 until 1988. They were designed to parody the Cabbage Patch Kids dolls that were popular at the time. The movie was produced, directed, and co-written by Rod Amato, and it was the last film he would direct before retiring in 1989. Now, there's some speculation that he only made the film so he could receive Director Guild benefits when he did retire. And after watching his film, I say that's highly plausible. Originally, it was slated to be a made-for-TV movie, but for whatever reason, they decided to switch gears and give it a theatrical release. The film, of course, was universally panned by critics and audiences, and is widely considered to be one of the worst films ever made. It was a box office bomb, earning just $1.6 million on a $1 million budget, and receiving a 0% score on Rotten Tomatoes. The story begins with the opening credits in space, and what the hell, I didn't realize that this was going to be a sci-fi movie. But hey, look, it's a Topps chewing gum production, so you know we're in for quality. Topps basically gave them a license, and then were completely hands-off from there. We see Garbage Pail Kids trading cards floating around space, which introduces us to the main characters. Why these characters? Who knows? There was a lot of cooler cards and characters they could have used in some of these. But I'll give the movie this. The opening introduction was actually well done. Unfortunately, it's way down from here. And I mean way down. We see a trash can-shaped spaceship heading towards Earth, or out of control and crashing towards Earth. I don't know. 1 second they're in space, and the next thing you know, we're in an antique store. The kids, as we're going to call them, escape the can and start to wreak havoc around the store. But then they get back in before the store owner's Manzini catches them. He suspects they've gotten out, so he puts a diving helmet on top of the garbage can to keep them from getting out again. We then get a kid who's running in the park for his life. This is our main character, Dodger, who's 14 years old and running away from some bullies. He ends up getting caught by the gang's leader, Juice, who merely just steps out in front of him. Really? Not even going to attempt to evade this guy? They end up stealing his money and they drop him into a mud puddle. Juice's girlfriend, Tangerine, is annoyed that her boyfriend is picking on a young kid for no good reason. Hey, your boyfriend is obvious hardcore by the Don Johnson wannabe look. And if you're looking for any backstory on a plot or character or anything that's happened so far or is going to happen in this movie, well, keep looking because you're not given anything. Which leaves you wondering why adults are constantly robbing and beating up a 14-year-old kid. After the ass whooping, he heads over to Manzini's antique store where he has a part-time job. Now this is where the movie really takes on a very creepy and disturbing vibe. Dodger strips in front of Manzini, who washes his clothes and gives him the dashiki to wear. Yeah, there's nothing inappropriate here. Dodger nearly knocks off the diving helmet that's keeping the garbage can lid shut, but is stopped by Manzini, who proceeds to tell him to leave the can alone, comparing it to Pandora's box from Greek mythology. Damn, you would think if it's that bad, you might secure it with a little bit more than just a diving helmet. At Tangerine Window Shops, and geez, even the actress is already annoyed with this film. Anyways, Dodger goes into full voyeuristic creeper mode. Maybe find someone your own age here, kid. This woman must be 20 years old. We get even more creepier stuff as Dodger smells her hair as she looks through some stuff at the store. But unfortunately for him, her boyfriend Juice walks in and must teach him a lesson for messing with his woman, and also for making him look bad. Well, I hate to break it to you, pal, you don't need this kid for that. Just look at the movie you're starring in. Now, you may be asking, if this guy keeps robbing and tormenting him, why didn't he call the police? Well, he ends up mentioning earlier in the film that the last guy that did that ended up in cement. Yeah, I'm calling bullshit here. Judging by this scene, there's no way that Don Johnson wannabe here offed anyone. Anyways, in the ensuing melee, they end up knocking over the can. They end up beating Dodger unconscious and leaving him for dead, handcuffed in the sewers. But not before spraying him with raw sewage and then calling him a creep.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
Seems pretty tame compared to what Warner Brothers threatened to do to me after my last video. Dodger ends up getting rescued by the just freed Garbage Pail Kids, who look frighteningly bad. The animatronics in this film are awful. In some cases, just flat out don't work. Bigger budget films would have worked out the kinks. The filmmakers used acrylic paint for the head, not knowing it would harden. As the mouth opened, they ripped on both sides. They did manage to fill in the tears, but if you look closely as this movie goes on, you can see the scarring around the mouth. It probably explains why you only get to see a glimpse of these things earlier, because I got a feeling it wasn't to build anticipation for some grand reveal. The kids end up helping Dodger regain consciousness with the help of Wendy Winston, who looks a lot like Herb Tarlick from the TV show WKRP in Cincinnati. He just farts in his face. I mean, we're not even 20 minutes in and we've had sewage and farts now. Manzini arrives at the shop to find out the kids have escaped and is none too pleased by this revelation. Well, where the hell were you 10 minutes ago when your employee was being beaten unconscious? That's the other issue. He seems more concerned about the kids escaping than his employee being savagely assaulted. We get introduced to the kids yet again, just in case we weren't paying attention to earlier during the opening credits, and are treated to snot and pee. Manzini does attempt to get the kids back in the camp, but they refuse. If that's the case, then why the hell did they go back in the can the night before? Then we're forced to watch a grown-ass man give his 14-year-old employee a bath. Damn, this movie really pushes that creep factor to 11, doesn't it? It even seems like a spectator sport, too, as a room is full of people watching this kid bathe and get out and get dressed. With the film firmly entrenched on the creep-out factor, Dodger immediately runs to peep on Tangerine through her window and ends up tagging along to a dance club where she sells clothes that she has designed. Between her relationship with the violent thug Juice and having no issue hanging around with this creepy stalker, it really makes you wonder if she has any sense of character, or just purposely hangs around with low-lifes and creepy lovesick stalkers.
Nice kid. Bad judge of character.
Her dream is to be a fashion designer in New York or Hollywood, since they need designers for movies. Judging by this movie, they definitely need writers, directors, and special effects people. Dodger ends up hightailing it out of there when Juice, who's still sporting a Sonny Crockett look, and his gang show up in the family truckster.
You think you hate it now, but wait till you drive it.
Meanwhile, back at the shop, the kids are busy outside looking for the movie's plot, or I guess at the very least, the script. Actually, they're just looking for their friends. It turns out that they're not the only ones. Who is there? How they end up on Earth? How do they get separated? We never find out. You're probably wishing for some sort of backstory here, I bet. Well, keep wishing, my friend. Failing to find him, they decided to steal a Pepsi truck for some convenient product placement, and they even flattened Juice's minivan in the process. The kids learn that Dodger has a crush on Tangerine, and they decide to help him by making clothes to impress her. What, you mean peeping in her window and smelling her hair isn't working? Hey, maybe show her that secret shrine you made of her. That would impress her. He dons a Michael Jackson-ish outfit and heads over to her house again, at night, and of course spies in her window. Now, I'm not sure why Juice is there. You figure he'd be more worried about trying to find the people that's responsible for destroying his minivan. But anyway, Dodger ends up just letting himself in. Hey, I was wondering if I could get a lock of your hair for my shrine. If you're busy, I can just come back later when you're sleeping. Unsurprisingly, she isn't creeped out. Instead, she likes the coat he's wearing. She offers to sell his clothing along with hers and even goes in seduction mode. Please stop encouraging this psycho. Dodger goes back and asks the kids for help, needing a dozen outfits by Friday. They discuss, or rather break out into song over whether they're going to help him or not. Or at least I think that's what they're doing. Their mouths really don't move, so it's hard to really tell if they're even singing. Plus, I wasn't even aware that this was a musical, but okay. They end up strolling over to the local non-union sweatshop to steal sewing machines and hey, look at this, we get more pee. After the intense musical score and clothes-making scene, the kids, tired of being stuck in the basement, decide they're going to don disguises and then go out for an evening out in the town. But not before urine.
Gee, I thought it was funny.
Yeah, you're the only one, my friend. As the others are at the movie, Allie and Winston go to a bar called the toughest bar in the world. Wow, great name. Is this movie even trying to be entertaining? Anyways, Allie gets himself in trouble, forcing Winston to jump in Leroy Jenkins style.
Let's do this, Leroy Jenkins!
And start fighting bikers before saving him with a big fart, impressing the gang in the process. They return to the shop with these two assholes from the bar completely intoxicated. Great kids movie, huh? After Manzini pleads with them to stay out of trouble, they immediately head to the sewers and start messing with valves that control the hot tub and toilet Juice and his gang just happen to be using at that time, covering them with sewage. Dodger ends up finding out that they're looking for their missing friends, who they believe are in prison for the State Home for the Ugly. It's a prison that incarcerates, experiments on, and actually execute people just for looking ugly. That's right, folks. A state-run prison that arrests and execute people for being ugly. I have no words. It couldn't have been a government facility that was studying extraterrestrials or something. No, it has to be a death camp in a kids movie.
I can't believe people would make a place like that.
Yeah, neither can I, kid, mainly because it's fucking stupid. Manzini and Dodger find a prison, but must regroup when they see how heavily guarded it is. Why the cloak and dagger stuff looking for this place is beyond me. It's not exactly the most hidden place in the world. Hell, they even got a big-ass sign out in front with the name on it. They probably could have just looked up the address in a phone book. We do manage to get a break of the nausea with the musical montage of clothes selling at the club again, as Juice and the gang look on from his van. What, did he buy another one? Or did the director just forget that it was destroyed earlier? The sad part is the film's continuity is the least of its problems. After a productive night, Tangerine again goes in appropriate seductive mode and asks for more clothes, telling Dodger that she has plans for the two of them. 14, folks. 14. We find out that she and Juice are actually using him to make money. And this all goes against his principle of letting him live. Really? It's really hard to take this guy serious when he's driving around in the family truckster. Tangerine later learns about the 7 kids making clothes and comes up with the idea of claiming their designs as her own for a fashion show. She meets up with Juice again for whatever reason. I guess to show that they're scheming with them? I don't know. Seems real repetitive to me, or it could be that she just really digs this guy's minivan. The kids agree to help, only on the understanding that Dodger would further investigate the prison for their friends. You know, the friends that we still know nothing about, nor has Dodger even spent a millisecond trying to figure out how they're going to sneak into the prison to search for. The night of the show, Tangerine comes to pick up the clothes and is continuously insulting the kids. When confronted, she really turns on to seduction with her most inappropriate sexual comment yet.
Dodger, baby, you're gonna look so cool tonight. Why, I don't even know how I'm gonna be able to resist you. Later.
Yeah, I bet you can't. She locks the kids in the basement with a padlock and gives the location and the key to Juice. Him and his gang later capture the kids and then hand them over to the State Home for the Ugly. No, don't do that. If they're dead, who's going to help you design tacky, snot-covered clothes? The kids are put in a cell as we see other prisoners that include Santa Claus, who's in prison for being too fat, Gandhi for being too bald, Abraham Lincoln for being too skinny, and a clown for being too silly. Damn it, where's Pennywise when you need him? Things are looking pretty bleak for the kids, who have no idea how they're going to escape. I don't know, did he try having Nat urinate everywhere? Oh, geez, movie, I was kidding. What the hell's the matter with you? Dodger later finds out at the fashion show that it was all an elaborate ruse and that they were being used by Tangerine and the kids had been arrested and sent to the death prison. He also gets thrown into a dumpster crying for good measure. Well, after he wipes away his tears, he meets up with Manzini at the prison and decides in order to save the kids, he's going to have to enlist the help of the biker gang from earlier. Man, good thing those guys were really into farts. With the biker gang, Dodger and Manzini eventually rescue the kids as well as everyone else who was incarcerated there. Unfortunately, it looks like they were too late to save the other kids that they were looking for.
Missed it by that much.
Manzini believes that they had already been executed by the garbage truck that we had seen earlier.
That's kind of a downer.
Perhaps if Dodger spent less time trying to hop into bed with Tangerine, they might have actually saved them. Well, they decide to head to the fashion show for some good old-fashioned vengeance.
Yeah, a lot of people are doing that these days.
Once there, Dodger and the crew evoke the power of Leroy Jenkins and spring into action.
Let's do this. Leroy Jenkins!
And when I mean spring into action, I mean terrorize a lot of innocent people. They not only take on the gang, but they also violate innocent models as well, ripping off their clothes. Because, hey, this movie's been pretty cringeworthy so far, so why stop now? Then Winston goes after the audience and douses them with fart. And hey, look, we get vomit, everyone. We haven't had that yet. Juice and Dodger roll around the ground until Dodger absolutely snaps in a fit of psychotic rage and lays waste to Juice, weeping the entire time.
There's a lot of pain and shame in those eyes. Wow, that is a disturbing image.
Tangerine finds Dodger later that night wanting to be friends. She explains how his closing designs were a hit. Well, first of all, they weren't really his designs, they were the kids. Second, maybe your dumbass should have looked at the big picture instead of trying to get them executed.
People are a resource.
Well, for the first time, and I mean ever, I guess, he rejects her, saying he no longer finds her pretty. He's still probably going to be peeping in her window at night and smelling her hair, but that's it. At the rejection, we find out that Manzini found the song to get the kids back into the can, only to be tricked that they escape. In the end, he ends up lightening up and decides to let him go. The end, and thank goodness. So what did I think of the theatrical bomb? Time to go to the hits and misses and find out. And starting with the hits, because there's only one, and that's the opening credits. I enjoyed the use of the cards were introduced to characters at the beginning. It did a great job of tying to the movie, to the franchise that they were supposed to be detecting. That said, it's time to go to the misses, and there is a lot of misses. I really struggle to put in proper words why this film is so bad. It's absurd and not at all funny. The attempted humor is grotesque, and while some of the cards were as well, the movie takes the meaning of the word to a whole new level. Combine that with the lack of plot, backstory, bad animatronics, and questionable moments, and you have a repulsive, dysfunctional mess that's almost unwatchable. The movie is an absolute creep fest filled with the cringe-worthiest moments from beginning to end. There's a shop owner that has no issue watching his young employee change and bathe in front of him. You have a lunchbox with bloody eyeballs, and the fashion show scene with the model's clothes being torn off is just plain wrong and has not aged well at all. The horribly out-of-place romantic subplot starring a prepubescent boy and a girl in her 20s is unnerving, and even made worse as she's constantly flirting with him, seemingly implying that she's going to sleep with him to get what she wants. It's very difficult at times to even feel bad for Dodger, who's supposed to be portrayed as a lovesick teenager. Instead, he seems more like an obsessive stalker. He smells Tangerine's hair, he has no qualms about peeping in her window, and he walks in her apartment unannounced and doesn't even knock. Then there's sewage, farts, and urine. Now, some of the gross characteristics in the film are utilized by the character and beckons to the trading cards that they're supposed to depict. But then there's Nat Nerd, whose signature move is soiling himself. And I'm not exaggerating. He soils himself 5 different times. The creators, I guess, expected everyone to find this hilarious because it is a gag that is used constantly. Really makes you wonder whether the filmmakers were motivated more by some strange fetish than a desire to make an entertaining kids film. It adds nothing to the almost non-existent story, and if you look at his card, there's no urine anywhere. Every other character seems to stay true to their card design except this guy. I just felt like the film really didn't know what it wanted to be. It has elements of a kids film, sci-fi, a musical, and a parody film. The opening space scene just seems completely out of place. It's never touched upon after the opening credits, as is a horrible musical score that just seems to pop out of nowhere. It has parody film elements like you would see in the Scary Movie franchise, like sewage pipes marked CIA and primetime TV. You got businesses named the non-union sweatshop, the toughest bar in the world. And if the whole storyline with the state prison of the ugly wasn't absurd enough, the prisoners there include Santa, Lincoln, and Gandhi. It all just culminates to make this movie just impossible to take seriously. And the movie also dives into some pretty adult-oriented themes. The missing kids may have been experimented on before ultimately being executed. Tangerine takes her shirt off. Innocent models are violated at the fashion show. And the beating Dodger receives from Juice are way over the top what is ultimately supposed to be a kid's film. I mean, at one point they beat him unconscious and leave him handcuffed in the sewer, for goodness sake. The negative response to this movie was so bad, it had a number of after effects. The planned TV spin-off for this movie? Canceled. The Saturday morning cartoon? Canceled. And it also marked the end of the trading cards original run around the same time as this spectacular failure. So should you save this film down in the shop's basement? Or should you throw it in the back of the garbage truck? I say utilize the garbage truck because this is an unbearable, soul-stealing movie to sit through. Well, that's all I got. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like and subscribe button below. If you didn't enjoy it, then tell that creepy neighbor to hit that like and subscribe button below. Until next time, I'm Bob, you're you. So long, everybody.